Hello, and welcome to HRBC show called Let's Talk. So now, Newport News South District has some choices to make. And today we have one of those choices, Mr. Marlon Pendergraft. And today we're going to find out why he should be the person you vote for. Let's see. Well, welcome, Mr. Pendergraft. Would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Absolutely. First, I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to do this podcast today. As I told you before, this is my first one, so I'm excited. I've been excited all week, and I'm extremely ready to get this going. So, like she said, my name is Marlon Pendergraft, and I'm running for school board here in the South District of Newport News. I've been married for 18 years to my wife, Heather. We have two children. One just recently graduated in June of 2022, and one that is currently in 10th grade. And I am a lieutenant here in the Newport News Fire Department. I was a Navy veteran before that. I am a lifelong resident of Newport News. I've been in the South District most of my life. I did went to the northern side of the Newport News and some of Central, but mostly in the southern part. And I am 37 years old, and I'm excited to be in this campaign, and I'm looking forward to November 8th.
Awesome. All right, I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, here we go. How would you improve special education in the school system?
Wow. First of all, that's a very good question, and I would like to thank all of the teachers that are special needs teachers. I've had the luxury of actually talking with some of them, and it takes a special person who is caring and patient to teach special needs. I do know there's quite a bit of shortages throughout our school system, so those dedicated staff members that have stayed, I do appreciate it. Some of the first things we need to do is kind of shorten the whole process it takes to get into the special needs. Some of those kids are delayed 6 months to a year before they even can get into a special needs program within our school system. And I have heard that from within the school district, so this is not something I made up. We also need to make sure that all our classes have all the resources our teachers need in order to effectively teach their students. Third, we need to also find a way to provide some sort of after-school care. Some parents aren't able to or have to make special arrangements to pick up their children. So a lot of parents that I've spoken with, I've had the luxury of meeting Ms. Kalisha Mitchell with the Brighter Side of Autism, and she's introduced me to different parents who have children with special needs. And one of the things that they were telling me is they wish they had an after-school program to have some activities for some of the children with special needs, and to give them an opportunity to continue to work if they need to, and be able to pick them up at a decent time. And lastly, I think we need to partner with some of the agencies within our community that will help provide some of those resources for parents to understand what those kids options they have for them and resources within the city, because sometimes parents really don't know what resources are out there for their children, and they sometimes suffer alone trying to raise a child that they don't have much education on, but there's a lot of resources are out there, and we do need to partner with some of these for these organizations so we can help some parents out. Excuse me, this is lastly, we need to provide some kind of after graduation education as well. So some of the parents were saying, so once the kids get out of school, their education stops, all the resources stop, and now they're left trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. So for me, I think that if we can find a way to do some sort of after graduation continuing education, so we can keep providing those necessary skills so some can find jobs and build upon what they learned while they were in school.
Okay. All right. So your site says that you want to create a better work environment to address staffing shortages. What would that look like?
Awesome. I think I've received this question quite a bit lately because I've put this on my Facebook page and I kind of boosted out there. So a lot of people were trying to figure out exactly what I meant by that. And as you know, we are a leading the area right now for teacher shortages. And I can tell you from working within the school system doing classes as a firefighter, I've seen it firsthand, some of the things that these staff members have been going through. I've seen children running down the hall, throwing paper. I've seen them throwing chairs and wrestling. And I look at a teacher and she says, I can send them to the principal, but they just send them right back. So why would anybody want to work in those conditions for the little pay? Well, I feel like they don't get paid enough, and I'm sure you would agree with that. Why would anybody want to work in that type of environment where you're disrespected, and so what I need to do for them is for one, show them that they're valued, give them a voice. So when there's decisions that will affect them, hey, why can't we have a town hall for the staff and kind of figure out what kind of decisions or processes we need to go through to make those decisions. We need to be able to follow that rights and responsibility handbook to lessen the distractions within the classroom, because I'm sure it's very frustrating for the staff to be able to teach if they're constantly having to tell children to sit down and be quiet. Also, I need to meet with the staff so we can build or create a cell phone policy. Cell phones are one of the biggest issues within the classroom that causes a lot of the distractions. And when I spoke with a lot of teachers, they were, I guess, they mentioned that quite often as far as discipline and the cell phone usage within the school system.
Okay, I always wondered about that because, like, I didn't think cell phones were allowed in the classroom.
Back in our day, they weren't. Actually, if you had a cell phone, they took it and your parent had to come get it. Nowadays, and I can tell you this firsthand because I've seen it in the classroom, that a lot of them are on it while the teacher is talking, and it's very disrespectful and rude. I don't mind the cell phone in the school system, but I would recommend that they are put away in their book bag so they're not out while the teacher is giving instruction.
Yeah. Okay. All right. When I was in school, we read To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. My generation seems to have turned out okay. How do you feel about the current new fad to start removing books from school libraries and depict real issues of the past and present?
To Kill a Mockingbird, you really took me back with this one. I know I look young, but it's been about 18 years since I graduated. And it's been a while since I read the book. But I do know how it depicts the justice system for African Americans and the unfairness of it. And I do agree with that. The depiction and how the whole Kill a Mockingbird is to kill the weak, and that's a very powerful message. And I think that that book should be age appropriate, and just like most books that depict some of these issues should be age appropriate. I do feel that some of the younger children will have an issue processing it. We growing up, I know you can contest to this. We didn't have all of the technology that these kids have, and they're far advanced as far as being exposed to things. And I do think that's one of the detriments to our society because they've been normalized with a lot of different things. But I do believe that books like To Kill a Mockingbird is a very important book that should be read by folks, but I think it should be age appropriate.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any ideas on how to encourage the hiring of more African American teachers?
Wonderful question. Because we've already mentioned a teacher shortage, so that's already an issue just as a whole. For me, I think that we do need to identify some of our African American communities and start to do job fairs. We need to show how honorable the teacher profession is to a lot of our kids. We are, especially in my district, majority African American, and so representation is key. And I think that we need to maybe hit some of the HBCUs in the area, and do job fairs there and try to recruit some of the kids from, they're young adults from Hampton University and Norfolk State to come on over and be a part of the Newport News public school system.
Okay. What is your plan for keeping our schools safe? Because as you saw, we've seen a lot of school shootings and Other people coming from outside to inside the school harming children. What's your plan?
So this has been one of the biggest topics within the last year, and we've seen well over 900 school shootings in this nation since Sandy Hook, which is an astronomical number for school shootings. And we've actually experienced a couple within the city ourselves. We've had one inside at Heritage High School. Unfortunately, we also had one outside of school, which caused a child to die. I actually responded to Heritage. So I remember, and I'll tell you a short story as we get into this, but I remember being dispatched to it. And as I was going through, I saw a bunch of abandoned cars from parents, trying to find out where their child was because they couldn't get in touch with them. And I remember seeing the crowd's face. I remember seeing the children's face of being escorted out of the school with assault rifles by different law enforcement. And I never want to see that again. It was a crowd of folks of uncertainty of where their children were. At the time, there was no answers or what was really going on. We didn't know at the time. I knew at that time when I got there that we had 2 children shot and at least one child on a run. But that's all we were told. We didn't know what he looked like or anything like that. For me, that child should have never been in that school. He was already in trouble for shooting a teen prior to that incident. So I don't understand exactly why he was in the school system in the first place. But for me, one of the main things is we got to limit the access to our schools. So our schools was built at a time where school shootings wasn't a very, big deal because it really didn't exist. So we have so many entrance points to our school. We have trailers. We need to find a way to enclose those trailers or find a way to fence them in. We need to have that one entry point to where we can show an ID and say exactly who we're there for. There's been times where I've been let in without even my uniform on, and I ring the bell and I mosey on in. So we definitely need to limit that. If I could help do some research, I would love to provide magnets on our doors. So if something does happen, we can kind of shut down the entire school and whatever gunman or assailant can't get into there with our children, because we saw what happened in Uvalde, and I definitely don't want to be a part of that. I would love to. I know we've been discussing a lot about SROs and security officers. For me, I would love to have a job description where we have a armed security as well as an unarmed security. The problem, I love my SROs and I do appreciate them, but if the police department is short staffed, guess who gets pulled? Our student resource officers. And the last thing I want to do is have our kids sitting ducks, and as well as our staff, because like I said, we saw what the results of that is. So if I could find a way to create that job path for our armed security, and that way they can train with the Newport News Police Department, I would love to partner with them. I love to have radios that would be able to contact police dispatch. So when something's going on, there's no delay. We can get a hold of them, let them know that something's going on. Do more training because I know the police have been doing a great job as far as active shooter drills. Unfortunately, I don't think it reciprocates down to the safety officers, and we do need some additional training for them, so we can be able to react in an appropriate way when an assailant does enter the building. To take a different approach or a different route here, I want to address some of the issues as far as bullying. I mean, that's part of the safety issues too. So we need to have a very stringent zero tolerance on bullying, because some of these kids are in school, and my family has dealt with it to the point where I've had to pull my child from 2 different schools. So we need to have a zero tolerance policy on it and actually take it serious. We actually have a zero tolerance, but it's not being used at the time. I don't know when we got to that point where we were afraid to hold people accountable for their actions. And I'm not looking to come down on a child and kick them out of school, because I don't think that's 100% the right way. I feel that some of these kids are being bullied at home. They're being bullied somewhere else, so they're reciprocating that feeling onto someone else, because they're going through something. Actually, when a child was bullying my daughter, I did ask one of the assistant principals what kind of mentoring program there were, so we can possibly, see if we can help mentor this young lady. And that's my baby. Yes, I was upset, but I try to view the bigger picture of it, because I didn't know what was going on in that young lady's life that would make her feel like she needed to bully my baby. I know she's my baby. She's 15, but she will always be my baby.
Always. That's right.
But that's where I'm at now. I will start a safety task force immediately, and this is what I want to do, because I want to be able to get our community, our school system, our police department, get our heads together. I know I don't know everything, so it's important to get the role players into one room, and let's get figure this thing out, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, based off of the direction we're heading.
Okay. All right. So children are starting to be groomed in schools to be okay with being sexually harassed, being fed on their bottoms, being talked to explicitly. When they complain to staff, nothing is being done about it. Do you have any thoughts on how that can be changed?
First of all, it hurts my heart to even think that children are having to deal with this, and when they should be going to school to learn. So for as admin and leadership, we cannot take this lightly. We have to be very serious about this. If there's a staff member, we would hope that they would do the right thing, because I have a daughter, and I would be furious if some adult knew that my daughter was being, touched or talked to verbally, sexually, and no one did anything about it. So we need to hold folks accountable. There's zero tolerance for it. I don't care who child it is. We cannot have this. So we've become a society that's been very disrespectful. And I do blame a lot of this on the social media and different access these children have to normalize some of these things as far as sexual behavior goes. So we need to hold these folks accountable. If they're not telling us, this is a mandatory, report. It's a mandatory report, in my opinion, because it's sexual assault. We need to be able to contact both parents and let them know what went on, and then it's up to that victim's parents as far as if they want to press charges or not. We obviously leave that into their hands, but that's a zero tolerance for me.
Okay. So now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're elected and you're sitting on the school board doing your school boarding. A parent comes and they tell you that their child has been sexually assaulted,
mm-hmm.
and they ask you to move their child to a different school,
mm-hmm.
away from the alleged offender. What do you do? Now they've already been to the principal, the superintendent, they went through all that. You are their last person before they lose their minds. What you gonna do?
So I've been in a situation similar to this with the bullying, where I kind of did all that process, and I know that nothing was done. So if a parent does come to me and I'm their last resort, first, the thing I need to do is to figure out where that child could be placed in the school system. Some schools are overcrowded at this point, but where could I put this child to so she can have a successful education without having to worry about being sexually harassed? But I need to do an investigation. With that being said, talk with the principal, see what's going on. Is there any camera footage? Is there any witnesses? So I need to do an investigation to figure out, because some allegations aren't always true, and I don't want to, say victims are lying, but I still need to do my due diligence, because before I put a label on another child of being a sexual assaulter, I need to make sure I'm doing what's right. But the main thing is to get that child into an environment where it's conducive for him or her to learn, and then do my investigation and see where that leads me, and then we'll make the appropriate decisions based off of what we find. If we find that the child has done that, then we need to hold them accountable. We have a rights and responsibility handbook. We have laws through the state on how to deal with these issues. We need to contact that child's parents if that is the case, and if we need to keep the other parent involved as far as where we are in the investigation. And I don't mean as I punished that child, he's got 20 days out of school, nothing like that, but we do need to keep that parent updated with the process.
Okay. All right. Tell us your top 3 goals you would like to accomplish if elected.
Wow, just 3, huh?
Top
Okay.
three.
All right, because there's so much going on, and 3 is a tough number, but obviously safety's first. Safety's first. We have to increase those safety measures that I spoke about earlier, and we need to address that immediately because the kids shouldn't have to worry about going to an unsafe environment, and because that's going to distract them from learning. For me, especially for my district and throughout the city of Newport News, actually this entire country, I'd like to add a mental health portion to our health curriculum. And that way it kind of identifies some of the things that the kids are going through and it doesn't isolate them. And I actually got this piece of advice from a parent that daughter was going through some issues, but she didn't want to actually go out of the classroom and be isolated and so show that something's going on. So if we can add something like this to our health program to show kids that, what depression looks like, because what we found is some of these kids hold these things in, and we're seeing quite a bit of suicides in our children, and that stinks. And drug use and alcohol abuse, and if untreated, that's what happens. And so we need to start addressing these and identifying some of these issues that the kids are going through mentally, and that's huge for me, and that's very important. Can I have 4?
Go
Come
ahead.
on. Let me have 4. All right. So number 3, I want to teach financial literacy at an earlier age. I want to start at middle school. So let's talk about credit. Let's talk about home ownership. Let's talk about stock market. What is the difference between a Roth IRA and a regular IRA? I just want to be able to give these kids the financial literacy that I didn't have. Not to blame my parents. They just didn't know any better. But if we can give them that head start, they still have to work for it. But we give them that head start and that knowledge early, and we just, constantly repeat it through 8th to 12 or whatever that looks like. And right now they do give a small portion of it in 12th grade. My son took it last year. Also, if we could, do some after school programs with parents, maybe they want to get in on some of this financial literacy and bring in different professionals to talk about home loans and different things like that. So for me, financial literacy is very important for our community to break a cycle of poverty or however that looks, or a social economical status. So I think that's very important. Moving forward. Thank you. I appreciate it. The last one is, for me, I need to be able to to create a work environment that is safe for our teachers, that is, and staff, and make it enjoyable to come to work. So I need to work on retention, and I need to work on recruitment, and because there's a whole lot of dedicated teachers out there that actually stuck around even when some of the teachers left, and I can't blame them. I told you, I've been in those schools and I saw what was going on, and if they don't feel like the administration has their back, I mean, what do you do? They didn't get into the profession to be disrespected. They didn't get into the profession to not be heard, to make as little pay as, and I call it little pay, for what they do. So I really need to get focused, and the way I'm going to do that is being grounded. So for the first 90 days of my campaign, my tenure, I'm going to go to each department within the school system, which means that you work in transportation, you work in a warehouse. I'm going to go and work with you for an entire day. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to find out what the needs are. And that way I can build that rapport with the staff. So when the needs are there, because sometimes that doesn't translate to the school board, and there's a disconnect between what the staff needs and what is actually being transmitted up to the school board. So from there, I'm going to build a strategic plan for 4 years, actually, to see and base it off of what the priorities are, and whether that means we need to get more equipment for cutting grass, because I'm going to cut grass with you. I'm going to help you fix HVAC equipment. I'm going to help you serve lunch. I'm going to ride a school bus. And also, after those 90 days are up, I'm going to work as a substitute once a month at a different school, so I can continue that connection with the school system.
Okay. And so my last question is, as you may know, that when people write their school board people, they're not getting any responses. So no replies back to emails, no answering their phone calls or calling them back. So I want to know, if you are elected, will you respond to the people who contact you?
That's a great question, and that would be a fool to say. Of course, of course, I would definitely answer. So I told my wife one of the first things with the little salary we do get is I'm going to buy a cell phone, just for as a member of the school board, so people can reach me, and whether that's email or telephone or text. But yes, that is my job. I work for the community as well as the staff. So it's important for me to answer questions, to get back with them, even the hard ones. And if I don't have an answer, it's important for me to at least say, hey, I don't have an answer right now, but I'll get back with you, and actually get back with them. Because right now, as you heard, my buddy Andrew and other folks have called and there's no answer, and you get frustrated as a parent, and you feel like your back's against the wall. And just like me, I had to take my daughter out because I felt like they couldn't keep her safe. So it's important for Marlon to answer those phone calls and answer those emails and those text messages. It might not be immediately because, I do have a full-time job, but get back in a timely manner.
Okay. Well, those are all the questions that I have, and it doesn't look like we have any social media questions. Is there anything else you would like to tell the people?
Good question. I would like to say, I know it's early voting now, so please get out and vote. And I would appreciate your support come November 8th. If you guys would like to volunteer with my campaign, you can always go to marlonforchange.com and fill out the volunteer form there. You can always contact me at 757-262-9630, or you can email me at marlon4schoolboard@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, advice, if you have some things that you really want to see from your school board members or your school system as a family, that's what I'm here for, because it's important for me to connect the community back to the school system and do this as a team, because it takes a village to raise these kids. And November 8th is right around the corner. So please come out and vote Marlon Pendergraft on November 8th. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's all that we have. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you.
Bye.